Alrighty then, let's see here. Oop, don't need you. Let's see here. Need to. Well, I want to see it's live, so we need to. Hmm. How do I invite people? I don't want to edit channels. I want to invite people. They're streaming right now. That's offline. No, I'm not signing. Log in. There we are. We're live with Restream. Yeah, I don't need to do that. Okay. Hmm. All right. I am really not sure if anyone can hear what I'm saying. I hope you can. Be nice if people could actually talk back. I don't know if they can. But we're gonna try and get started. Okay, so where I left off with this is the item scroller. Oh. So where I left off here last time, which was the weekend, so Sunday. Here, we'll pop over to here. We're just real fast. Basically, I realized that doing the whole use deep memo final data thing, I honestly don't know how this ever worked. It worked fine for loading data, but the problem we're having is when we actually try to change the data. The memo picked it up because it's doing a deep equals. Use deep memo. I can show it real quick. Is right over here. Basically, this is how the use memo works in React, except for it actually does a deep equals on on the actual dependencies. This arrays are different, which has now been moved into a common section here because I'm going to use it in multiple places. Actually calls the fast deep equals library deep equals and compares the two arrays. So, and yeah, that actually had an issue with the clone deep method. This is my clone deep method. I had made mistakes. Of course, now all the flies are flying around me. I had made mistakes. I'd made a mistake in the way that was written to where it worked with arrays, but not arrays of arrays. So I fixed that issue. And so now what we need to do is we need to go back to the concept of this being useDeepEffect. That's what we're going to change this to. So we need to find ourselves here. We need to do a rename. So we're useDeepEffect. Yes. Rename it accordingly. I just do it. I'll fix whatever breaks because of it. Okay, good. It worked. All right. So everything changed, but we're going to start from scratch. Basically, we're going to start from scratch because I had an idea of how to fix this. I actually posted it on X not long ago. Let's see how many people might be doing the stream right now. How do I even find how anyone's doing the stream? I had it previously, but now I can't even see it. I don't even know if anyone's seeing or hearing anything I'm doing. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, there is someone in there still. So that's good. Went to the wrong place. All right. So, concept is going to have to go back to the way it was. Let's see here. Because the way we did it before is we did basically, yeah, this is gonna have to go back to the dependencies. Everything's gonna have to go back to the way it was. So previously we did, I don't even think we need this any longer. Let's see here, we need the useEffect callback. I've done that before. Let's see here. But you can't do effect callback. Basically, what you need is you need to say effect. Effect is it's either void. Hang on, was that right? And then it's a callback. That's right. That's right. It's a callback that returns either a void or a function that's a void. And you can't do it that way. It's complaining because of that. There we go. And then you say dependencies is dependency list. There we go. Okay, that should give us what we need. What is this complaining about? Okay, cleaned it up for us a bit there. That's nice. All right, so now basically what we're going to have to do now is we're going to have to do a similar deep equals that we did with useDeepMemo, sort of. We do need, let's just kind of use that as our example here. We basically need to keep the old dependencies around. So what we do is we say this, we say const previous dependencies is equal to useRef. The useRef is a dependency list. There we go. So yeah, now we have the type of dependency list are undefined. All right. And then, yeah. We say const is changed is equal to arrays. I'd say arrays are different. Is previous dependencies dot current dependencies. That's right. It requires it to be a value, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Okay, so hang on, thinking through this here. Not previous dependencies. Well, because I don't basically what I don't want is I don't want to have to check that it's undefined. So I always want it to be there. So you would say is not equal to undefined. That'll make it always Boolean there. If it is undefined, well, it's not going to matter either way because of the way we're going to check it. So it's not going to matter either way the way we do it because we're going to check it. Because what we're going to do is we're going to say if not previous dependencies dot current or is changed. So when the previous dependencies are undefined, then it's going to go ahead and run it because we should always run the first time, basically, so we can then yeah, so then we can, but we're going to need one more piece. That's right. That's where this is. That's where this is different than the useDeepMemo. Because what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to say, let's see, that this way we're saying the dependencies are changed. And so then we need to say that they are, that's right, we need to set something up. We need to set something up that will always fire the useEffect, but only fire the useEffect when the dependencies are actually changed. yeah. So we need to use here. We'll skip this for now because we'll do something inside of there. But what we need to do is we need to call the actual use effect itself. Yeah, but we need something that's going to be our trigger, but that's okay. That's okay. Our not having the trigger is actually okay. What we're going to do here is we're going to just pass our effect into here. Pass our effect with the dependencies, and then we're going to set up a dependency that will change only when our dependencies have changed. And then that should, and this is doing the deep equals. And then that's right. At that point, that should yeah, that should actually fire it. So what we need to do, and we probably need to throw something, because in this case, there's really no point of calling this if you don't if you don't have a dependency, especially if you don't have an object-related dependency. So I'm just thinking through how I want to do this. Could use a state item and just fire within the if structure there, and that would then fire the use effect each time. It's probably going to be something as simple as just a number that's going to just increment each time, therefore causing the actual change in the effect. Yeah. So we'll say fine. Why doesn't it do that automatically? It should to the top. Effect trigger. I spelled that right? Yeah. That could be a Boolean as well, I suppose. And then we could just flip it, but actually we could do that. Because we're just going to flip it each time. We just need to make sure that we don't create a closure, which shouldn't be happening here. Shouldn't be. Hang on, because we're going to need to return the use effect. Are we going to need to return the use effect? I don't think so. That's where my idea came from, because that was what was the problem the last time. I actually returned the use effect, in essence trying to make it a use effect, but the problem was, yeah, I think this will work. So yeah, basically we say effect trigger, and then here we say set effect trigger to not effect trigger. That should work. That should actually work here. Let's take a look. All right, good. Let me go over here and see if anyone's got any potential questions. No questions yet. Okay. So yeah, that really should do us. Let me kind of scan through. I won't add the dependency check for now because we're going to just test. We're gonna throw out a test here. Throw it into. I could use bun. I'm using bun, by the way. All my libraries now run with bun. Bun is extremely fast. It's faster than Node. It's faster than just about anything out there. It is still very new. It is still it has some things that aren't fully implemented yet, but this library is still very new. Um, I'm willing to bet by the time I get this thing to a deliverable state, Bun should be in a pretty deliverable state itself. So normally, I would do something like Yarn Link and just test it out like that. Bun does have Bun Link. It does work, but it works in a very strange way right now. There is no unlink basically. So what you have to do, it does have the option when you say Bun Link. You can say Bun Link and then you say save, and then it puts a little save, a little special way of linking it inside your package JSON file. And then what you do is you basically just go in afterwards and you clear it out and you kind of just do a new install of your dependencies and installs the previous version that was there that's unlinked. It's kind of a strange way of doing things. I don't know if I want to do that here. But and then when it's linked on the other side, you get errors in there a lot. They don't show up in your actual deliverables. They don't show up anything like that. They don't cause any problems really. It's just kind of annoying. Um, but instead, what I'll probably do is I will probably do a actual test build, just a test deployment of the library, so that then we can just install the test and run. That's why I'm taking a look at what I'm doing here first. I'd like the test to be successful. Uh, Problem is, if it's not successful, how am I gonna know for sure that it's what the issue is? Well, it would be really fast to tell because I've got the code in there that knows whether or not it fires at the right time, and I know when it should fire. So let's give this a shot. We will go ahead and do what I said here. Let's just make sure we've got it here. We've got this. I have a setup as well in my deployment script with release it that requires me to do change log entries. That's another reason I wanted to I was debating on bun link, and that's because I have to add another entry that then ends up in here. Now, before I deploy, of course, I can take those out. Although last time I didn't take those out, but yeah, I can actually take those out before, which is what I'll probably end up doing. I think it'd be easier than trying to goof around with bun link. Hopefully, before too long, bun gets the linking and unlinking working like you see in Yarn and npm, and we won't have to worry about that kind of stuff. So, really, we kind of already tried to add it, so we'll call this, we'll say changed. Previous issues with use deep equals or deep effect. Oof. At least we hope we did. That'll give us what we need here. And now we go over to here. Boom. We are on 21. Yep. By the way, you'll see stuff like this. You'll see names like this because I have Jira, and so these are my Jira tasks. So even though this is something that's not something I'm doing alone, I do have a couple other devs that are helping. See if we can pop over to my Jira board here. So here's the task itself that I created to fix this. This is for the common board. I've got a couple of them, as you'll see here. This is the main one that's being worked on right now. This is the one we're at. This is this. I started this one trying to basically trying to go down the path of I want to create some social actions that basically when I deploy will use. I have a business account on X as well. We'll use my business accounts to just automatically post out whenever a new library is released. Um, I'm not going to work on that. I've actually assigned that to someone else who's working on the task to kind of take a look into that and start looking at if that's possible, how to do it. I know there's stuff out there to do it, so it's definitely possible. Let's just pop over to BSoft components really quick. There's a number of things in the task. We've got some backlog here, so we've got a good amount of tasks that I've put here. Everything from the green on up is tasks. These are all epics that I've been creating for the tasks. So a good number of tasks to start. That this is definitely not the end of. This is not the finishing of it. This is just the task we have as of right now. So we'll pop back over to the common and just kind of showcasing there how much work we're doing, things like that. There are some tasks in here as well, but that's why you'll see stuff like this. Let's see here. So we'll go ahead and we'll pop over and we'll say modify the use deep effect hook. This should fix the previous issues with the hook. All right. We will commit and push. Yep, that sounds about right. Go ahead and push. And now we will run our GitHub action. So I've got my own organization over here. This is BSoft Components. We'll go to Common. BSoft Components and BSoft Common both have deployments. As you can see, there we go. But that's not what we're going to do. What we're going to do instead is we're going to go over here. I got chromatic because originally I was thinking I might have some components in here, and still may have some very common components that get put back in this library. So I'm leaving that there. But what we're looking at is the release here, and we can run the release from our branch. So we just choose the branch, and it's a pre-release. So at least for this is release. It's different versions that you can choose basically. Patch major minor, and then any of the pre-release types. So if you're going to do, pre-major, pre-minor, it will increment it, but then what it'll do is it'll put a dash and it'll start at 0. And then for each time you want to increment the dash number, you just do another pre-release. So we're going to do another pre-release. Let's see here. And we will run the workflow. And you will see, as you can see, 31 seconds is the build time for this. And even in BSoft components, that's about the same amount of time that it takes to build there as well. So very, very short build times. I've got a library at the place I work at. We do a very similar build script there. That thing takes, I can't remember if it's 3 minutes, 2.5 minutes. And honestly, it's a component library as well, but it's running with Yarn and Node. And oh, look, it was successful, and it runs in a lot longer time. Now, granted, this is a bit of a smaller library and all that, so that has to be taken into consideration for the time as well. But BSoft Components has currently 11 components. And it's still running very quickly. It's running in about the same time that this is running in. So now we've got that. Now we need to do is go over here. BSoft components. Let's see what we got here. Let's go ahead and upgrade BSoft Common. Got the latest version. Now we need to go into our code. Let's get that off. We'll leave that commented out for now. What we'll do instead, though, is this will cause some errors, but that's okay. We'll reload from disk. Yeah, there we go, good. So that won't be there. Yep, good, it's not. There's our useDeepEffect. Yep, good, so I finally figured out it's not there. So we will say useDeepEffect. And this needs to be an array. There we go. So everything else should stay the same. It's an ESLint. There we go. So we fix that. We've got you. This should work. This still isn't perfect yet. Actually, I think I did fix my last video. If anyone watched the end, which I don't think too many, I don't think too many did, since it was an hour long. Any further videos will be cut down to shorter pieces. Yeah, I made mention that I had a potential bug in how the next page was calculated. I actually took that out. Instead, what I've done is I've got total pages in here. It just basically uses the total pages to determine if it should request another page. The reason for this is it is possible that the user could return more than a single page at a time. It's also possible with this component, a user could start by actually giving us data. Only if the user starts off by not giving us data will this get fired, and will ask for the first page of data. So this kind of helps control a little bit, give us a little bit more freedom into how the user may give us data, how much data they may give us. We may request a page of data, but we don't know how much they're going to give us back. So we need to take into account the possibility they might give us back a whole slew of data. So this can stay into here because this is what we're testing. We're testing to see if when we modify, if we actually get inside of here, because this is what gets fired when the data is modified. This is what gets fired each time you hit the end of the page. If you haven't gone through my video, I'm not going to go through the whole thing again. I did go through in depth exactly how this thing works. But yeah, basically this is kind of the basic part of the runner that determines what happens, and we need to make sure that when any data changes, not just the size of the array, but also any items within the array change, that this thing fires. And that's the issue we were running into last time. Last time this would change whenever the size of the array would change, which means next page is requested, data returns. It would fire this. But when there was a single item, or any item within the array, not the size of the array, but any item within the array changed, nothing would happen. And that was the issue we were running into. So we're going to hope that this is now working. We're going to run Storybook. Don't know if any of you. Oh, yeah, I restarted my machine last night. So even though I'm running Bun, Storybook still needs latest version of Node. Matter of fact, that's probably going to need to be over here as well. Just, oops. There. Just in case. All right. So try that again. All right. I left this tab open just for that. And now we'll go localhost 6000. And this is our guy here. Oh, of course, too many renders. And there we go. We ended up in an infinite loop. Uh, well, it looks like we might need to do. How did we end up in an infinite loop? Okay. Um, hmm, it is possible that we still need. I didn't think we would need to have this code still working. I really wouldn't want to because then you have two times that you're running through uh, deep dependency checking. I really don't want to do that twice, but I've got a feeling it's because of the fact that the data is firing the deep effect and then requesting data that then it just sits there and goes loose. But I can't see that would happen. And that's not exactly how this works. This requests the data comes back. Oh, I see how. How did it? Oh, no, no. Oh, this is different. This is completely different. Yeah, this needs to be just a regular effect. That's right. This needs to be a regular effect. That's what the problem is here. So we got a regular effect. This now becomes data. That's where this problem was. I actually how did that even allow me to do that? I am just getting started. I know this is afternoon for me, but it's my morning, so early brain fart syndrome here. Hopefully that will fix the issue. I don't, like I said, I have actually no idea how it even allowed me to do that without throwing some kind of, at minimum, a warning of some kind. Let's go ahead and try this again. Another thing about Bun, I'm not sure how well you can see on this, but it's extremely fast with Storybook even. I mean, it's already started back up. That may be a false positive. Let's give it another shot. Nope, it's still hitting the same thing. So it was not that issue that's causing it. So it may actually be something I do have to dig in and figure out here. See, the next request wouldn't come across because it would fire. So the way our test works is it starts off with no data. So it's initially going to hit here. Um, doesn't show that it ever fired the first page request. Data itself should be undefined. It would be defaulted to undefined. Um, so it should initially come across as undefined. It should fail the if check here, make the request for the data. Let's go to the test, the story. Stories here. On request data, fires the action with the page number, which we never saw. So that means to me it never even did that, which means that what it's doing is probably some kind of a test to say that it would cause an infinite render because I can't see it's not data is not a state item. Normally, the way when you see these infinite render things with use effects and stuff like that, it's because you have a piece of state that's firing. You have a piece of state that's a dependency that then you're firing the state update from within the use effect. So it just sits there and it does that. It does this constant firing of itself, and that's how you end up in an endless loop. But that's not what we're doing here. So the question is, how are we ending up in an endless loop? How are we ending up in an endless loop where we never even get a single request for page data? Um, let's see what we got here. Well, let's take a look. We don't have this, so let's see if maybe some console logs will help us. Huh. Yeah. Well, that shows it. Item scroller stories. Inside the item scroller, it did 52 record modification flags. So it hit this code in here 52 times and then said it was in an infinite loop, which is right. If it hit there 52 times that fast, it definitely isn't an infinite loop. But the question is why? So loaded data.current length is not equal to data.length. Um, we set the data, we calculate the total pages, calculate the render page data, calculate the render pages, and then we set the record modification flag. Once again, that has absolutely nothing to do with anything in this use effect. Now, the problem is this doesn't necessarily work like a use effect. Uh, use effects are very special in the way they work, which is why I wanted to wrap the use effect in my item. So this could be a little bit more difficult of maybe I did need to return the use effect there. Um, but basically, use effects fire after the render. They don't fire. Most custom hooks fire in order that they're called. Outside of use effect, if you have a hook, or maybe not even just custom hooks, most hooks in general fire um, top down. They pretty much fire top down. So as you come past it, use deep memo, use memo, all of them that way work that way. If even React's use memo hook works that way. It evaluates it every time, and every render through the component it evaluates it. Says, is there a reason that this should do something? It checks. It says no. It falls out. It just kind of does its really quick check and falls through. Use effect, from the way I understand it, at least from what I've read from a lot of my digging ins and all that kind of stuff, use effects actually fire after the render. So the render comes through, and if you see it, if you've ever printed out, you've ever done a console log inside of use effect, you will see that's the case. You'll see that you'll have items come through. If you have a use effect that's hooked up to a piece of to a property that changes, the property changes. You'll see your fire from the property update. If you're logging in the component itself, you'll see the log component, the log method, or the log function log there for your actual component, and then it'll go inside the use effect and it'll log inside of there. So it does fire differently. It is possible that are since we're not returning the use effect but using the use effect under the hood, it's entirely possible that it is working as a use effect. But why would it, in that case, why would it still end up in an endless loop? How would it end up in an endless loop? This is a property. I'm probably going to need, you see, it's a void. Um, but a use effect is a void too. But see, but our effect, no, that should work. That should work because our effect, what we just passed in here, this whole piece we're passing in here, is called by the actual use effect under the hood here. So our use deep effect does this item unless it is constantly resetting the is effect trigger or the effect trigger. If it's constantly refiring the effect trigger, okay. I don't want to do it, but I'm afraid we might just have to. We might have to do bun because we're going to have to do a lot of testing in here to see what's causing our endless loop, what's causing this to happen. So yeah, because just off of looking, I can't really tell. It doesn't appear that data should cause it to go into an endless loop. It doesn't appear that doesn't appear that that anything should be causing that. So, yeah, okay. Don't want to do it, but we're gonna kind of have to. Here, we're gonna say unlink. And this is what I'm talking about when I say how it sets up the dependency. So this is kind of how it ends up working. It's a little strange. Like I said, it throws errors because it doesn't quite know. They haven't quite perfected the whole linking process. I believe it uses the same basic concept where it creates a sim link in your user drive, and then it links through that. That's how uh, Yarn and npm link work. In case anyone's ever wondered how it works. Mm. Even with Yarn and npm link, they're not perfect. I've had so many problems with the linking and unlinking. That's why I really try to stay away from it. It can be problematic. Let's see here. Then we say bun link at bsoft common. Hang on. It's been a while since I've done this. I think it's dash save. Yeah, it's dash save. There it is. Dash save. Here we are getting low on my powers. Getting drained pretty quick here. So boom. All right. So it's dash save, because without that, we'd probably have to do like a force install. If I do this, what'll happen is it will place basically what you see here, it will do it for you. If you don't, it'll just straight out link it, and I'm not sure if there's any good way to unlink it. If you do this, it will place that into your package JSON for you. So you do that. Now we've linked. Now we can build. So bun run. Let's see here. I forgot what I called it. Probably build. Yep, build. Okay, yeah, bun run build. It has bun X in it. All right. There we go. And now we've got it linked across here. Oh, well, that's kind of worthless. Kind of worthless because we're not really putting anything testing in here. What I wanted to do is console.log. Firing. Okay. So let's see here. That ought to help us there. At least show us if it's fire, if all the fires are coming from within here. Let's see now. We can keep that there. That'll help us to, because obviously it is somehow rendering here, but we're wondering how. Hang on. I'm gonna have to something else. Effect trigger. Here. Let's just. Oops. There we go. So there. Now we got that. Now at least that will help us. Let's see here. Run build. All right. Storybook. Okay. Okay. So let's see here. It does look like it is firing the effect trigger. True, false, true, false. It's never changed. So is changed is not coming across as true. So it's not somehow getting a false is changed, but it's still, I know exactly what I did wrong. Can anyone else tell me what I did wrong here? Can anyone guess why it would sit there and continually refire the effect trigger? I doubt anyone. I'm not even sure if anyone's actually watching or if they just kind of clicked over and said boring. But I figured it out. I figured it out. So if it's either not there or it is changed, then we say previous dependencies dot current is equal to dependencies. Now that. Now, can anyone guess why we did that instead of just directly assigning it? Those of us that have been in JavaScript for a while probably know, but those of you who maybe are new to JavaScript, if you do a direct assignment that way, basically what happens is you're assigning it to the item itself. Potentially, when you pass in a new one, it will automatically update this, and then when you do your check here, you'll be checking against, it'll always come up as change. They'll always come up as the same, sorry. They'll always come up as the same. So you need to make sure when you assign it that you clone it so you separate the objects from each other so that when this changes, it doesn't cause this to change with it, and therefore it'll always say that they're the same. All right, that will more than likely fix our issue. I don't know how many people, again, don't know how many people are watching, but um, I was on a space a day ago talking to people about, their first job in tech, how to get your first job in tech, and all that kind of stuff. And talking about people, I think people were talking about imposter syndrome. And a lot of people said, I think the reason they said that is they felt they had imposter syndrome because they didn't know everything about everything. Well, and I told them that they shouldn't feel that way. No one knows everything about everything. And look at I mean that mistake I just made there was an extremely simple mistake. Extremely simple. I should have added it in there. I should have seen it. But it's early. I can't say it's early in the morning. It's actually afternoon time here. But for me, it's early in the morning. It's the beginning of my workday, and yeah, you just don't think about it. Luckily, this isn't something that's been deployed that people are going to use. This is just we're testing. We're trying to get something working. All that kind of stuff. So, wrong one. Yeah, I think I did just build that. So let's go ahead and we'll run the storybook. Good. All right. Okay, it's ready. We rerun. That's better. Fire an effect is changed true. Fires the effect. Did not fire the effect again. Record modification flag false. How did it even? Oh, okay. Yeah. That's coming from our component itself. That's being done at the render level. So each time the component renders, that's being done. And then record modification flag false. Where is that? That's in the scroller itself, but that's the bottom of the scroller. Same here. Okay, good. Now we get to test our thing. Oops. All right, so as we scroll, load and load and load data, here's our page loading. As you can see down here, you can watch the requests for page data and have it coming back. If you notice along the right hand side here, as we scroll, each time a page request goes out, about a second later, you'll see the scroll bar jump a little bit. It's jumping a little bit because it's getting more data. Basically, it's the data got added, and there it is. It's auto populating it. This is a much better way of doing things than the way I did it in the past. Um, in the past, this the component I wrote before had a bug that if you scrolled fast enough, you could end up tricking the component to react. This does not have that issue. You can scroll as fast as you want to, and it will never get caught in that situation. It'll always scroll right to the top. Now, if this works, which I'm really hoping it does, this right here, this one right here will be replaced with my name. Oh, there it is. There it is. I'm going to quickly go through. This is something in the video that I did. I did not explain about how this component works. We are going to quickly jump into the story. Oh, no, we're in common. We're going to quickly jump into the story here. This is what I'm talking about when you do bundling. You see the errors I got up here. Yeah, it's because it doesn't know BSoft common, blah blah blah. It just throws errors everywhere. This is why I try to stay away from it. But the way this works, here's the item scroller. Basically, we pass it the scrolling element. This is the element that wraps the item scroller. This is the actual scrollable div that the component sits within. Or actually, this isn't the scrollable div. This is the container div. This thing creates a scrollable div within a container div. And the idea behind this is you got to give it a size and those kinds of things. In this case, I think we're giving it the size here. That's right, we are. We're giving this the size here. But this is just the item to contain it, where it's contained within. This is our scroller data. The reason I'm using a ref here, more than likely I would probably use a use memo. I'm trying to keep the renders down in the item scroller, so I'm doing it a little bit differently. Honestly, the way we've done this now, we're doing deep dependency checking, so it probably doesn't matter all that much. But the reason I'm doing this, if anyone knows, is because inside of React, when you pass an object, although arrays work a little bit differently, don't they, in how object.is responds to them. But let's keep going down the object path. In the case of objects, when you pass an object uh, into a React component, it does an object.is comparison, and when you compare even though you're comparing two objects that are structurally exactly the same, React sees them as different because it holds the value of that object, and it takes the incoming object, even though it's the exact same object, as a separate object, and it causes another render. So that's why you're always hearing people say that you need to break out your properties to try to get down to primitive values and things like that. The other way around that is to memoize your data. Refs are basically a simple way of memoizing the data. Um, yeah, there's that. There's our class name to set the size of the scroller. And then we have this guy here. This guy's the workhorse of the entire thing. Basically, the item scroller knows absolutely nothing about what's going to be rendered. All it knows is it knows data, and whatever the scroller function, whatever our child function here returns us, is what gets rendered into the component, but the component itself does not know what is being rendered. This is the markup that we are giving back to the component, and that's how we are seeing all of these things here. Something you'll notice here, I'll show you what I mean when I'm saying that. So if I check this item here and I scroll down past where this would get unrendered, here's a really good example of what I'm talking about when I'm saying past where it would get rendered. If you look if you see the items that have the little ellipsis next to them, those are items, those are pages that are actually rendered. If you see the other pages here, their pages are right, but there's nothing in there. And that's how the item scroller works. That's how this does all of the work that it does. It basically keeps in this case it's only two because we're at the very top page. If we were down on the second page, matter of fact, if you watch, if I scroll here, you'll watch and you'll see 1, 2, and 3. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. So that's what it does. So we're on page 2 right now. So it keeps page 1 rendered, page 2, and it renders page 3. And the idea is you should never technically, if you're scrolling at a normal pace, you should really never see. You shouldn't know that basically this is happening. That's the idea. But as you see now, page 1 has become unrendered. So if we scroll back up, you're going to notice that person that I checked there is now not checked. The reason for that is this doesn't have any logic of understanding what happened with this piece of markup. So our component that used this component would have to maintain a value knowing that that item was checked. A good example would be if we were writing a dropdown. That's kind of the idea of what I'm rendering here is if you had like a multi-select dropdown. But the dropdown itself would have to maintain the values. The item scroller has no concept of state values and things of that nature because it doesn't know what it's rendering. It farms all of that out to its to the other components. Basically, what the item scroller is what's referred to as a headless component. It's a component that has no styling whatsoever and either none or very, very minimal markup. So that's why it doesn't have a pretty look to it or anything like that, because honestly, this doesn't provide any of that. Anything, the component that uses it is the one that needs to provide the styling. Um, yeah, and that's actually what the next thing that we're going to be working on here is converting a lot of these components to headless components. And as I said, I think in my video last time, that's the next thing that we're going to do is every component from there on out will start its life as a headless component, and then bsoft components will provide the styling for it, but we will also put out the headless components as well. Let's see here. We've been doing this for about an hour, so that's a good amount of time, and we got it done. We got what I was looking to get done, which is really, really good. I can take this out now. um, Yep. And then I can actually probably go ahead and deploy this because this is working correctly. I won't worry about that too much. Let's see here. Not really seeing any new views. Don't know if anyone is still watching. I hope there are people watching. I hope I hope you enjoy um, what we've been doing. Boy, this thing is quite a bit behind. Um, but I'm going to go ahead and stop the live. I'm going to stop the live item here. I'm going to unshare my screen. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right, everyone. I hope you learned something today. I hope you learned that even developers who have 23 years of experience can make a mistake and have to dig in and figure out what's going on. Um, I really hope that in the end you learned something fun. You got something good out of this. Give me a contact. Ask me questions. I've already had people hit me up on X and ask me questions. I do my best to answer every question I can. If you want to join what we're doing, some people have asked about pay. I'm sorry. This is me doing it in my spare time. Everyone that's working on this project right now is working on it in their spare time. Um, if you want to have a good example of things that you can showcase what you've done, especially if you're a new or younger dev and you want to be able to say, I did that. This is a really good thing to say, I did that. Third-party components, in React, everything's a component. So you say, oh, it's just a component, but third-party components have a very special amount of requirements that Okay, that was me. That basically require you to really think through them, because this isn't just a component that's on a page and on a website that you wrote that's going to get used by a couple of your customers and blah blah blah. This is a component that if used, if it becomes something that people start using the library quite heavily, is going to be used by potentially thousands of developers out there. So you've got to really think through every single step. You've got to think through. I get sleepless nights sometimes. My last couple of nights, I don't know if you can tell I'm tired or not, but my last couple of nights have been sleepless nights thinking about things. Just, you sit there and you go, is this the right way to go? Is that the right way to go? I'm saying that this is a component library that's going to be proficient, going to be efficient and all of these kinds of things. And yeah, it definitely it's something that I spend a lot of time thinking about and trying to make sure I'm doing the best possible job, because I want people to enjoy what they're watching, enjoy what we're doing. Sorry, enjoy what we're doing. Um, get the most out of our components, and realize that our components. The point of me writing this is there's a ton of component libraries out there, but I find that most of them are geared more towards um, the frameworks they're written for. So React comes out with a new feature, the components say we support this feature, we have this and this and this and this and this, and that's great. I'm not saying that the component library shouldn't try to keep up with what those features are, but a lot of times that's their main selling point. And yeah, components do a good job here and there, but a lot of times they fall short in very important ways, to where when you get to more complex scenarios, and see, these are the scenarios I work on, most of the project I've taken on, especially in the last 10, 15 years of my career, I don't take on e-commerce projects anymore. I don't take on those kind of projects. I take on dynamic data projects. I take on projects where you're writing data that writes data kind of thing, where you have to really think beyond. And that's where I feel a lot of the third party components out there begin to fall down on the job, because they aren't written at that level where they're thinking about how developers actually use these things. And I've seen it time and time again. I've used so many component libraries out there. I've seen it time and time again. So that's the point of us writing, of us working on these components, is to try to write components that are geared more towards the app dev, and not so much being component developers, but being app developers and understanding what app developers need from third party components. Like I said, it's a good place to learn for anyone who wants to get better, who wants to increase their skills. Learning to write components will definitely do that for you. I appreciate anyone who's taken a look, anyone who will take a look, who will watch the playback after this. I hope you get as much out of it as possible. Hit me up. Uh, give me a shout out. Say you liked it. Say you hated it. Tell me what you think. Ask me questions. Ask me questions. I'll do my best to answer. Like I said, I've had some people already doing it, and I always try to respond back as soon as possible. Obviously, if I'm asleep, I'm not going to be able to do that. Uh, you know, my time zone may not be matching most of your time zones. So, but I do my best to respond as quickly as possible. So, hopefully we'll see this again. Maybe if I catch something else, I might either redo a stream, or I might do a video and just post a video out there. So we'll talk to you guys later.